Hey, we want to thank Bill.com for being a sponsor of the Thrivecast. Our firm, Blummer CPAs, has used Bill.com as a foundational part of our tech stack for many, many years. We're a virtual firm and we work with clients virtually all over the U.S. And so we have to have a virtual platform like Bill.com. So thank you, Bill.com, for sponsoring the Thrivecast. Hey, welcome to another Thrivecast. I'm super excited about our guest. He's probably heard this many times, but he is one of my mentors. His books have changed how we lead our organizations, our communities, and a lot of people we teach. He also influences them as well. So I'm so excited to have Peter Block on the show. So Peter, welcome to the Thrivecast. I'm so excited to have you here again. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Very cool. So, Peter, you and I have an agreement. I'm not going to read your bio because you made it up anyway, you said. But I am going to start and say why this is important to me. And so why we've had a podcast for a decade is because we do the work of transforming people's lives in a lot of different ways through consulting with our clients, but also through leading communities. And they listen to this show to gain insights into how they can lead and change other people's lives too. And we know they want to do that, and we know they struggle to do it just like we do because we tell them how much we fail. So that's why we do it. That's why we do this podcast, because I desperately need people to hear you. So that's why.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Very cool. So, Peter, you have been doing consulting for a little while. So where do you do it now? You do it in design learning. Can you mention that real quick?
Well, I started consulting in the 60s with companies. And okay. I studied finance and engineering, and then some professor came along and told me there's this field called organization development. He thought I would like it, and I was so overwhelmed that he knew my name. I said, okay, I'll go. And so I really started in the 60s. We started our firm in 66. We were working for Exxon. And then about late 70s, IT people and financial people started coming and asking, we're right most of the time. How come people don't listen to us? Why don't they act on our recommendations? We're not that stupid. And they said, would you run a course on consulting skills for us? So we made it up in the 70s. And we tried to figure out, well, what's the relationship dimension of consulting? People have expertise, but they think that's enough. It's not. Being right doesn't help that much. Being connected is everything. People will be influenced by you if they trust you. If they say, well, you see me. You're a human being. Because most people know what the right thing to do is, that they just get stuck. And so we started running workshops, and it turned into a business. So Design Learning has been running consulting skills, events and workshops and stuff since your book came out in 1980. So it's been 40 years.
Wow. And that's Flawless Consulting, right?
Right. Flawless Consulting was the book. And there's something at the core that this captures, or we wouldn't have lasted so long. and what's at the core is the fact that if you run an accounting business and you have clients and have users, it's not about the accounting. The accounting gets you in the door. It's the outfit that you wear. And you got to be good at that, but you are good at that. And if you start your own business, it's something more than just doing accounting. It means that you want to build a practice. You want to make a difference in people's lives. And that comes with how you manage the connection, how you think about the way you work with clients and friends.
Yeah.
And that's what we gave structure to. I knew I was writing for engineers, accountants, and IT people. So when I wrote the book, it had lots of boxes in it. And it had arrows in it. And it had lists and examples in it. And I was embarrassed by it.
You were
And so
embarrassed by the book?
I was, because my world of organizational development is all about theory and ideas. Make it up every time as you go and stuff. But here I'm writing this very practical. I had a cookbook in mind. And so, and then it worked. I don't know what happened.
Well,
That's the nerve, and it's still going. Every time they want me to edit it, it scares the hell out of me, because all I can do is doing it. But it turns out that there are certain, and mostly what we offer people the experience of learning.
yeah,
It's easy to teach. It's hard to learn.
yeah, it really is.
Try to flip most of the conventional wisdom.
Yeah,
People are not against change; they're against coercion.
mm.
And you're right. We all are waiting for our transformation, but we don't want to be colonized into it. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. And our clients don't want us to show up and tell them. And so you have to find a way of connecting. We can talk about that, but that's kind of the large story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why it goes on. And it stayed interesting for me. I would say the number one challenge for people running an accounting firm is to stay interested.
Well, it's true. Well, you know what? You get more interested when you start looking at the people you serve with, and you really start to see the humans around you. And my partner, Julie, she taught me that. We were running an accounting firm, and when she came in, she started really just looking at the people, and she can't help but be devoted to the people that we serve, the people that we serve with. And it matches a quote I heard on a podcast from you, which says, when you have people fall in love with each other, the empire slips away. So it's really pretty radical to go, yeah, we're accountants. Can we all get in a room and learn how to love and trust and be transparent in safe ways so that we can go change the lives of people we serve? Is that what that quote means?
Yes. What it means is that our relationship is as important as our content. Now, you got to be right, but most of the time you are right.
Yeah.
And, because things are not that complicated. But what you run up against is the network or politics of the client that you're serving.
Yeah.
You can't be in an organization without it being a human system, and every human system has its humanity. And it's not their problems. They don't need fixing. They don't need therapy. They just need to accept each other's humanity and the fact that they're more direct, honest, open, vulnerable they can be with each other. The more powerful their services, the more powerful our clients' world becomes. Because most large companies now, people are so isolated, it's painful. And COVID just lifted the veil off of our isolation.
Yeah.
We were just as isolated in the old normal. I don't want to go back to.
Yeah, very sure. Very true.
You're helping answer the question, okay, we've got your accounting expertise. How do we together as a client act on it? And so part of what you have to do is help them be with each other. That's the falling in love part.
Yeah.
That came from a math teacher. So the way I teach math is I have the students get connected, fall in love with each other in the presence of a math teacher. So your assignment is to have clients fall in love with each other in the presence of an accountant.
That's brilliant. But of course, as you know, as a consultant, that's a journey to get people to let you lead them through the process of falling in love with each other. And so a lot of our consulting is to break down their guards, to walk into a room kind of naked a little bit. And some people just won't do it. And so we can't consult with them. And so we put up walls to make them drop their barriers. Like we force them to share in ways through the discovery. And some people just can't get there. And we know, and I know for myself, we say we get in our own way. So a lot of times they want the education or the learning and they want to be transformed, but they just don't have the ability to, I don't know if let their guard down is the right phrase, but they can't get there with you.
you're using language, kind of colonial language. All right. Say you were my client right this minute, and I started saying, "How do I get you?" As soon as I start a sentence with "How do I get you?" I've got you, but you're going to have to defend yourself. I don't want to be gotten. I want to be seen. And what we want them to do is to bring more of themselves into the conversation. And so if it feels like how do we get them, then we're still have something in mind for them. And I would back away from the notion that I have something in mind. My goal as a consultant is to help you live out your intentions. As a boss, a manager, my goal is to get you to live out my intention. If I'm getting you to live out my intentions, even though they're filled with love and goodwill and good outcome, it's still, that's the empire. That's the colonialism.
The patriarchy, huh?
That's the patriarchy. So we show up as partners, even this moment. We're creating this together. I don't have anything in mind for you. I want to be who I am and as clear as I can be and as open as I can be. But I don't have to let anything down. Yeah. I just have to. And there's easy ways to do that. You ask people, tell me what you're up against. Tell me what the crossroads you're at this stage of your life. Yeah. And then listen. Ask people, what do you have trouble saying no to? They can call this a skill, but it's too simple. It's not worthy of being called a skill. It's a mindset. It's an orientation. And I go in wanting to know, what are they up against? What do they have trouble saying no to? Because everybody in the workplace is afraid to say no. Okay. What doubts do they have that anything will ever change? I don't have to convince anybody about changing. Okay. I just have to honor their doubts. And then the closer you get, the more authentic you can be. Okay. I can say, well, what's the resentment you're holding that nobody knows about? Ooh, what?
What? I'm not supposed to say that?
I'm going to answer that question. And then you say, I know you're not going to answer that question. But if you did answer the question, what would the answer be? This is how friends are.
Yeah. Well, are these things you can do as you walk into a consulting agreement? You can ask about the no's they're not saying, or the resentments they're holding that they're not speaking. Is this how to go into formal organizational consulting with our clients?
Well,
that's fluffy stuff, man.
Huh?
That's fluffy stuff, man.
It's not fluffy. It's too firm. The rest is fluffy. And some questions are riskier, so you wait until you've connected with it. And I would go into I think people make a decision whether to hire you based on how you are with them in that first conversation. There's nothing to do with your credentials.
Yeah,
in fact, I agree. You've done this 20 years and you're the best in the world and you were just named president of Davos. Nobody cares. They want to know what is it like to work with you. And so I don't mind walking in with you and I say, I could ask you, how's your podcast going? And then you could ask them, what's the crossroads you're facing in terms of your podcast business? You can answer it or not. I don't mean for you to answer it now, but wherever you are, what are you up against? And then the best question is, for the things that you're concerned about, what's your contribution to having created those? That's called ownership. And if you are in a place to speak that way with clients or prospects or sales or during a keynote in front of 1,000 people, the world shifts just a little bit.
Yeah. Now, what if people are not interested in that? So you bring those kind of questions, and that really creates an authentic relationship in consulting. But some people are like, no, I need you to tell me what it's going to cost to do my accounting. Do you back out of that relationship?
No, I don't. I ask the question, do you think this is a good fit? Am I somebody you think will be useful? Is our firm, do you think, can help you what you want to do? I don't care how they behave. Some people are just crusty. Don't give me none of that touchy-feely stuff, okay? Fluffy stuff. I say, okay, I won't. Now, what's your contribution to the problem that you're talking about? I can't show up to meet people's expectations because they're too low. And they pretend they're too busy, and they're looking at their watch. I've only got 4 more minutes, and all that's just talk. People have all the time in the world to do everything that matters to them.
That's a big quote. Yeah,
really, all the time in the world. And the fact is, if I get to the point and ask you what your contribution is, or what doubts do you have, or what gifts do you trying to bring to this place, what's your strengths, it saves an enormous amount of time. It doesn't take long for people to connect with each other.
I love
10
it.
minutes.
Yeah.
I've done
Well, what is, so as people, this is good stuff. So you're what you're doing right now, I think, is you're teaching us how to set up a real relationship with people, or at least how to enter into one that they have a participation in, right? Because some people perceive consultants as, I'm bringing the goods and I'm going to walk you through this. And you're saying that is not a way to see people transform. They are the ones that are going to transform. You're not going to do it for them. They have to do it. You're just in the presence, kind of guiding them through that process.
Giving them a structure that they can use with each other. Because if I'm working with a group of 3 people, I'll ask them to answer their questions. I'll say something, for you to act on these recommendations, depends where you are in the process, or for you to work with us, what do you guys want from each other? And they say, what the hell are you talking about? Well, this is therapy. I said, no, it's not therapy. It's not transformation. It's nothing. I just need to know what you guys want from each other. How do you feel about that? I'm not waiting for permission. I don't have to advertise it. It's just a way of being.
Oh. Well,
some people don't want it. Like sometimes there's a lot of conflict going on inside companies. You feel it as an account. You feel it as a consultant.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, this group, the marketing group, the sales group, oh my God. And so then I ask them a question. I say, well, do you want to be right, or do you want to work something out? They say, I want to be right. Then I say, God bless you.
Bye.
And let it go.
Okay. Bye.
You probably are right. That's cool.
Then you don't need me, right? You don't need a consultant if they're right? And not that the consultant is right.
Right. And everybody hires a consultant to fix somebody else.
That does not work. That blows up, and it's rough when that blows up in your face. And what do you do when you've gotten into an engagement, maybe, I don't know how you want to call that, an engagement with people who you thought were going to collaborate and participate in their own transformation, and halfway through, it's clear they're like, no, we're doing it my way, and you even push back. Now, you've been paid some money. How and do you back out of engagements and give them their money back? Or, I mean,
well, sometimes you do. Sometimes you do it for your own reason. But I just don't accept that as a given. They say, well, this makes no sense. It's not what we brought you here for. And I say, I'm beginning to understand that. And I know you're disappointed in what's happening here. Yeah, I'm very disappointed. Tell me more about your disappointment. You just don't have to accept the world as it comes to you. You're trying to stay connected. Now, sometimes people will say, well, you're not being helpful at all. And I may have to say, and I've failed. The things I've tried, it haven't worked. And you feel awful about them. You remember every single one of them. Usually it was lousy contracting. I never should have been in the room. And that's why most of our training we do is about contracting. To make sure there's some openness on their part and that it's a good fit. There are people we don't want to work with. Now, if you're running an accounting firm, you see bad fits and you do something about it all the time. We'll switch you off the project. But I never take it as a given unless it's just clear that there's nothing useful I can do here. I don't care about the money.
Okay, so that That's interesting. You're saying what people say or the way that they behave is sometimes a presenting issue, and you're not going to take that at face value. You're going to maybe you'll agree. Yeah, this has been a terrible engagement. What are we going to do? You say, what are we going to do together to actually correct this?
Everything you said is perfect. It's perfect. It is a presenting problem. The way they come at you, they're coming at the world. And if I can find language for that in an easy way, not in a judging way, and they say, you really want to control everything that you're doing, don't you? Yes, I do. Tell me more about that. But I would never take that as the end game. That's just, you're always trying to go deeper. Well, what's behind your wanting to control? One of the questions in contracting is, in what ways do you feel vulnerable with respect to the work we're doing together? Do you feel you have enough control and influence over the way we're working with you? Because accountants and financial people get brought in under strange circumstances.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to do something wrong or somebody wrong. And so you keep exploring how much do you have enough control. And then you ask people about what's working about us working together. What gifts did you come here to bring? I think the word transformation is a little complicated, but I think people, they want to make a difference. They want to have a sense of purpose. They want something to work. And that's what's on your side.
Okay.
It's just, if I meet their expectation, I've let them down.
Well, say more about that. If you've met their expectations, you've let them down.
We want to bring something much more than meeting their expectations, because people's expectations are too low.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You want to bring a transformation they may not know that they actually want. So their expectation comes in low.
Yeah, I do what makes sense. Always in a supportive way, but you ask difficult questions. People don't want to answer. I always just say, well, if you did want to answer, what would you say? And some of it's called resistance.
That's sneaky.
Resistance is, it just means they have an underlying concern they can't find the language for.
Are you trying to get them to feel safe? Like, are we trying to get them to a place they feel safe to actually say the real thing?
Yes.
Okay.
You keep going get in the conversation.
I like get, man, don't I?
You do. Go get your rod and your reel and your shotgun and go get some.
Go get a deer, right, for some dinner, right? So it's an invitation then.
You're right. It's an invitation. You're inviting them into a more authentic. And by authentic, it's nothing fancy. It's just what's really happening here.
Yeah.
Well, these people aren't getting along.
Yeah.
Well, that becomes part of your accounting service, is when people you're working with aren't getting along with each other. You bring that up. You say, well, part of the thing is the accounting we're doing, but part of the reason you got stuck here is because these two groups are two part of the people having a hard time with each other. Why don't we sit down and talk about that?
They don't want to talk about it, though.
I know they don't want to talk about it. That's why it's important. It's a fine line between who am I there to serve? I don't want to be pushy about it, but half the project is getting your clients to connect with each other in a little simpler, more honest way. And it's not about history, what happened, what did you do? It's about the simplest way is to ask them, well, what do you want from each other? Otherwise, they get in all this intellectualizing. Well, you guys, when you do this, you do that, you do that, you do that. And there's always a little blame intertwined in it. I'm not that interested in the blame. I'm interested in what do you want from each other.
Yeah.
If people say what they want from each other pretty cleanly, it takes them somewhere.
Yeah. And so consultants are doing great work when they're helping people authentically talk about what they want to do together. But we've all been through our own therapy, right? We don't all know what we want, right? Like, how can we trust we know what we want for ourselves? Do we even know that?
It's hard. It's a tough question, but you stay with it. I don't know what I want. I understand that. It must be frustrating. What are some of that? What are some candidates for what you want? Give me 3 possibilities, not knowing which one is really true. Once people enter the conversation, something shifts, whether they're clear or not. Half the things I thought I wanted, didn't want. Every time you go shopping, you buy something you don't need. Every time you go buy technology, it's obsolete by the time you get to the car. So is that what I wanted? I don't know. But you have to be willing to enter a conversation about relationships in order to have any real impact. About my conversation with you, I could ask you, how's this damn podcast going? Are you getting what you want from me right now? For real, And then it takes you somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So why is contracting? Why is that a key? Why are you saying that? Sounds pretty practical and structural. Why do you want people in your courses to get contracting right, to do all these other right things?
Thank you. Because contracting is a easy way to talk about our relationship. And people will act on your recommendations if the relationship is trusting and they feel you're on their side. That's what contracting does. It's not a legal document. And it's simple. It's asking people what they're up against and asking them, what do you want from me? I'm running an accounting business. And every client I've ever had, I said, well, what do you want from me? And they'll tell you, I want the project to do this and this and this and this. I said, I got that. Now, what do you want from me personally? How do you want me to work with you and your organization? That's contracting. And then you have a right to make demands on your clients. Well, here's what I want from you. I need to know when things aren't going well. I need space and time. I need you to be willing to really look at the social system you're creating as clearly as the accounting system you're creating. And they may say, I don't want to do that. I say, that's okay. I can live without that. Just because I want something doesn't mean I got to have it.
Right.
Okay. But now we're connecting with each other. The consultation has begun in the first moment of the first sales call. And contracting gives us room for things not to go right. How do you feel? Do you feel vulnerable? Is this working? And then you tell people what they did right. Why, in this conversation, like with you, your questions are beautiful questions, because you really keep leaning into the complexity of building relationships with clients. And if you're running an accounting business, that's your main job, is to help your associates connect with each other. It's a convening function. It's not so much a leading. The work we're doing now is leader as convener. That people are ambivalent about going back to the office, put it that way. Well, part of it is because our whole management thinking has been so archaic. I'm going to give you a performance review.
Yeah.
Here's some key KPIs for you. Oh, thank you. I was hungry. I didn't know I was going to get KPIs for lunch and dinner. We said, okay, let's go to the agenda. You want to create a predictable world. The hell of a way to live. That's why people are staying home.
Yeah.
Because they don't say the office has the connotation of management, control, predictability, consistency.
Yeah. And people are fighting against that. People are leaving those places of employment probably for no better hope somewhere else, but they don't want to be controlled. And I guess what you're saying about the contract is that it's putting down in language that you're going to share with me what you want from me, and I have the opportunity to ask you to tell me how I can show up and help you with that. Like, the contract gives both parties the ability to say things as to authentically as to why they're there. Is that a summary of the contract? Okay.
Perfect.
Not
And
I'm
then
going to get it. Okay, it's not getting anything. It's we're both agreeing to show
partners,
up and do the work.
as partners, as equals, in the sense of we each have a right to say what we want, talk about whether it's going well or not, and they're learning how to be with each other through that process.
Okay.
It's not a sales call. I don't want the business. I want business. But you never know as you begin a relationship whether this business is right, because
That's
you're
right.
terrified of taking a contract that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And people say you're too expensive. And that's easy to say, I know. We are too expensive. No, you want to do something or not. It's like talking to a friend or a partner.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about money. When we're leading our community and teaching them, and they want to be consultants, we believe the way they show up and do this great work is valuable, and so we believe it should come with a price that represents the transformation they hope they get to participate in with their clients. Like, can you charge too much for consulting? Do you give it away for free? Like, what's the deal with price matching the value of what you think you're bringing in consulting? What do you think about that?
I think it's kind of a market question. Less experienced people get paid less than more experienced. The point is, pick a number where you can sustain your business. You think you're in the range, the 80% range of what people are charging for your practice, for your services. And then stop making it important. Tell them what it is. It's going to cost you $50,000. You got to feel comfortable that it's worth that.
And then move on.
But we were hoping to get it done for 35. Well, I would say, I'm sure you can.
And then move on, or say, okay, let's do 35. Right? You have the freedom to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, when you're starting out, you take everything. I'll give you $1.50. Spend a day with my team. I say, make it $1.30. I'll come. I need the contact. I need the work.
Yeah.
And you can, sometimes you think it's. I used to get paid for talks. It was obscene. It's more than I got for my first house. And I tell them the number, and they say, "Oh, we thought you were going to be expensive." I mean, the rates they make no sense.
Yeah,
what's fair? How do you build a business? How do you get your 10 or 15% at the end of the day?
Yeah,
for having put up with a nightmare.
well, tell me about it. Do you have to have a lot of experience to be a consultant? Like, or what even does that word mean? Like, do you have to have done it for 15 years to be able to lead people through a process?
No.
But what if you're 25? What if you're 25 in a room with some 60-year-olds? Like, you feel like, I shouldn't be here.
Well, it takes you a while before you believe that you have something to offer. It took me till about 26. I remember I worked one day in Atlanta, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and something was eating away at me. And I realized I did good work that day.
Ah, cool.
Maybe what I'm doing, I can do and bring value. And that was great relief. But that's me with myself. It has nothing to do with, it took me that long. But age, I don't think predicts anything. Old people, young people. But people have to learn the language of the client system. If you want to work with oil companies, you got to learn how they talk to each other. Yeah. And so you have to be able to, and it takes a while to get the language of the corporate or business or community world. When I switched working with companies to working with communities, I had to learn a different language. So it took a while. Yeah.
So does that mean as an expert, you can, like, narrowing a market to work in a certain industry can aid you in doing that work better? You can be more effective, possibly.
You understand. Sometimes I never knew what they did. It's too complicated. I remember consulting. One group was an SSR group, and the other was a DVH group.
What is that?
I never knew what those initials meant. All I knew they were pissed off at each other.
Did you let on you didn't know what the initials meant? Or
Yeah, they don't need me for that. They know what the initials are. But I have to have some cultural knowledge of how organizations work.
Okay.
And it takes a while to absorb just the norms. It's like being an anthropologist.
Yeah.
And you have to find out what is this community like? Who are these people? What matters to them? But I don't really need to know their business. Now, if you're running an accounting business, well, obviously you're going to deliver some accounting services.
That's right.
You do much more than that by the contracting that you're talking about.
Yeah.
By helping them work together, helping them express their doubts to each other.
Yeah.
Because most people in a high control system, they just want to look good.
Mm.
They just want to be right with each other. And that's why businesses struggle. It's because people can't tell the truth to each other.
Mm. So Peter, you're basically saying when we're doing our consulting, it's possibly we're doing work with people who don't feel the freedom to share their doubts. They don't feel the freedom to say no. And that is the inhibitor to the change, not some wonderful consultant that's coming in the room. It's actually their own issues that they're bringing. You're trying to get them to leave those issues at the door so that they can change on their own.
So they can be with each other in a more productive way. It's not that they can change the way they are together. You know, I don't want anybody to change who they are, but you have it perfectly. I should be interviewing you. How did it work out?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm paying you a lot of money to be on this podcast. So I think
big bucks.
Big bucks. Okay. So let me ask you another quote or ask you about another quote. This is, this is bothersome quote. A lot of your quotes bother people, Peter. Probably, I don't know if you do that on purpose, but here's what you said on a podcast, another one. You have to be willing to not meet the expectations of people who brought you here. And so it's almost like you're trying to show them you're not who they thought you were. Like why? Or you have to be willing to. You said you have to be willing to not meet the expectations of people who brought you here.
Yes, and their expectations are often wanting magic. I want a turnkey operation. You know, here's my car. It's not working. I'll be back. I'll pick it up at 5:00 and have it fixed. Well, you're not running an auto mechanical shop. You're dealing with a human system. And so,
okay.
I want to offer them more than they thought possible. I want this podcast to be better than either one of us imagined.
Mm.
And the more down to earth, the more real, the more honest, the more direct, not in a confronting way, then it brings value to the world. And value has to come packaged as a surprise.
Oh, cool.
And that's what people hate in large organizations is surprise. They'll put up with anything. They'll put up with autocrats and bad leaders.
Just to not be surprised.
It always done me when I was consulting. I would say something. The first response was, I tell them, the building collapsed during the weekend and you won't be able to continue your business for 6 months. Their first response is, well, I'm not surprised. It's like
I already knew that.
You fear disaster. And so you're trying to surprise. And that's what learning is. Mm. I don't have to be a different person to learn something. I just have to be willing to think about the world in a different way.
That is amazing. And so it takes courage, right? You talk a lot about courage, and in this, another quote, you said part of the courage that's required is to disappoint those who have control over your life, which is, that's a lot to unpack. So you're saying even in consulting, actually just in any kind of work we do with human systems is there's going to be a lot of courage we're going to have to walk into that room to authentically say, I'm not the guy you think I am, and I'm not going to bring whatever you think I want to bring, but I do have a contract with you to be authentic, and so you're going to have to fulfill your part too with me, or we can't do this work together.
That's essentially, that's the idea. I don't explain what I'm doing. But I tell them, what you want from me, you're not asking enough, or you're looking for magic, if that's how I feel about it. Or there's a piece of what I have to offer. I don't know whether you care about it or not. And I ask them that question. It's as if you were telling a friend what happened. Well, talk to your clients as if they're friends. They can handle it. But you can't do it if you're mad at them. Sometimes I get angry, and I know when I get angry because I can say the same thing 3-4 times in the same meeting to the same people. And after a while, I listen to myself. I say, Peter, what the hell are you doing here? And I say, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom. I leave the room until I'm not angry anymore, and then I come back. But a lot of people will package their anger as help. That's always a disaster.
Well, how do they do that? They'll connect that for me. I don't want to do that. How do we package our anger as help? Is that us telling people what to do because we're angry and we don't know it?
It's our tone of voice. It's the way we show up. It's the repetition for me. And you just have to find out for yourself. When I'm angry with a client, that's my own resistance. What am I angry about? They're not listening to me. Am I not being who I thought I was? Is the project different than what I contracted for? There's no reason to get angry with a client. Okay. Or even anybody, really. You could be disappointed, not get what you want.
Yeah.
But you think it's their fault, really.
Yeah.
And clients become triggers for us. There's certain kind of people that I just don't do well with.
Yeah.
And so whatever the reason, that's my issue. And so you look out for that.
Yeah.
And you always know it early. I knew when I was headed for disaster, when I took on a job, I should never have been in the room. Okay. I did a conference once, and they said, we're having a press conference right after this meeting. And we got to make sure a lot happens in this meeting so we have something to say for the press conference. And I said, oh, I can handle that. Oh, baloney. It blew up. And afterwards, I thought, Peter, you jerk.
That's not where you were supposed to be.
I was not where I was supposed to. That's a great way to put it. And you try to be in the rooms. The key to consulting is finding great clients.
Yeah.
The key to great clients are people that don't need you. And then you create a world together.
Yeah.
Then you both can imagine what AT&T might look like, what a phone store might look. You create something together.
Yeah,
and that's
amazing. That's amazing. Well, I know, Peter, we could keep talking, but we gotta end the show here. Should people go to what's the URL they should go to? I think you're still doing courses online, right? So designlearning.com. All right, designlearning.com. Okay,
yeah, that'd be great.
And so you're just doing courses on consulting and things like that, and probably a lot of other courses, I imagine.
We do other stuff. We do stuff on building community, leader as conveners, what we're kind of trying to reframe, because what's happening with COVID is the social contract that we grew up with isn't working anymore. We could do a whole conversation about that, but that contract with, if I behave myself, you'll take care of me. Yeah, that's a broken deal. Yeah, let people stay home for a while. They don't want to come back under those terms.
That's right, and that's what they're doing. They're like, I'm not interested in coming back.
I know. Well, then let's find out what would interest them.
Yeah,
and let them know that the old parent-child relationship is gone.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a child anymore. When they stayed home, they realized they were grown-ups, and they don't want to be back and be a child anymore. And the offices are designed culturally as child care centers.
Wow, that's a statement. Cool. So turning leaders into conveners. I love it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter, for being with us. We appreciate it. It's an honor always to have you on the show. So thank you for continuing to do podcasts. I know you got better things to do, but here you are speaking to the world still. So thank you.
You matter to me.
Okay.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Take care. We'll see you.